Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests, and today we're going to Canada to Tara. She is the CEO, founder of Red Blaze Solutions. We'll hear from her. She and I, we met in the Alt MBA. I would say in the Alt MBA, we only meet cool people, and now let's hear from you. Introduce yourself. And first of all, welcome, Tara, to our podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you, Susan. Yes, my name is Tara Paton, and I'm coming to you today from sunny Calgary, Canada. If you're not sure where that is, go to Montana and just keep going north.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Tara, and how did you get to the Red Blaze Solutions? I mean, even the name sounds so cool.
After more than 20 years in the oil and gas industry, I was laid off. And it took probably about 6 months to decompress because I'd never had that time before in my career. I'm like, oh, I can breathe. I can relax a little bit. I took some courses for fun. I took some courses to dust off some old interests, and which led me to the Alt MBA where we met. Mm-hmm. Through that process and lots of self-reflection, excellent exercises and assignments in the Alt MBA, I came to the conclusion, I don't want to go back to corporate. It's time for me to do something for myself, by myself. And that's where I landed on starting my own consulting firm, Red Blaze Solutions. The name, I wanted it to invoke motion and movement and that fire that you have in your belly. Like that's what it means. Because one of my favorite sayings, and I'm told it's from Winston Churchill, is when you're going through hell, just keep going, right? Like, and people, like anything you're working on or you're doing, you have to do it. And if it's a little bit every day or whatever, but you have to go, you have to move, you have to make progress.
And you told me you were a competitive swimmer. I think maybe that invoked that movement part of the name of the company.
Yeah, so way back in high school, I swam competitively for a couple of years, speed swimming. And then I flipped to doing water polo. I swam on the water polo team, high school water polo team, and I made it as far as our provincial team as well. I think swimming taught me, especially speed swimming, because when you're doing all your laps and you're back and forth, and yes, you're tired. And the beautiful thing is you can't really see the guy in the next lane. It's just about you. Head down and go. And you can't stop, because if you stop, well, you'll drown. So you have to keep going. So I think so. I think it taught me I can do more than I think I can. I know when I have those moments of self-doubt or imposter syndrome, I always kind of go, well, I'm no better or less than the guy in the other lane, but I know I can do it. I just got to keep going.
And we all know in sports, we can do more, right? If you swim, you can say, let's do another lap. I'm a runner. I can do another mile. Or I had once a participant in my classes, and he says, I cannot run 4 miles. I can run 3 miles. And then I said to him, why don't you run to the next lamppost and to the next lamppost? And then one time he came to me, he says, I can run 4 miles now. And I was like, whoa, it's just one step at a time and maybe an extra step.
Well, I've ran, I don't know how many half marathons. And I'm always a big fan of, I run for 10 minutes, I walk for 1. I do my 10 and 1s. When you're feeling tired or something hurts, I always will look at my watch and I'm like, oh, it's only 2 more minutes till a break. I can do that.
That's what we can take away in the business, right? Tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurship, because we know it's sometimes a little lonely, but if you have that sports mentality, how can you get over that and say like, hey, I can do this. I know better.
Yeah, the lonely factor, sure. Like you're a one-woman show, right? Like, and it's all on you. And I am also the primary breadwinner for my family. It was really all on me, which is fine. Like it's been like that our entire marriage. For me, the entrepreneurship part, the self-doubt creeps in because I've never done it before, right? Again, imposter syndrome or that kind of stuff. And you have good days and bad days. But I just know, I'm like, no. Like when those come in, and if you're a fan of Brené Brown and she calls it not in the arena getting your ass kicked, shut up. I call those voices, I snagged it from a coach. She calls it the itty bitty shitty committee. Those little voices in your head that tell you you're not good enough. When they start chirping and chiming in, my phrase, I kind of take a deep breath and go, thank you for your service, because they're serving kind of a primal need, right? Fear, flight, freeze. But I kind of go, thank you for your service. It is not needed right now. Please go sit down.
Oh, this is so cool. And I say it's usually the other voice in your head is like the roommates, but then you say, who's paying the rent? Not you. Move out. Tell us a little bit, what is your organization? What do you do? Red Blaze Solutions.
Yes. I'm doing just a mini pivot on what we're offering. I'm offering workshops that are for teams or organizations, profit, not for profit, corporate. It doesn't matter. If you have a group of people coming together to achieve something, then we have a workshop for that. I literally just put the final touches on a strategy workshop. And this came about from talking to various clients. Like I can give you an example. I was talking to a fellow who's COO of a startup, but they're about 3 years old, so not too startup-y. And he's like, God, all day I'm putting out fires. I'm responding to phone calls and emails, and holy man, it's just a whirlwind every day. Now you fast forward about half an hour into our conversation, and we started talking about strategy. I'm like, well, what is your strategy for the company? Like, what's the plan, Stan? And he's like, well, we don't really have one. And I'm like, how can you? Wow. Okay. Well, okay, fair. I get it. You're busy in the weeds. That takes time. Like, well, what's your company's vision? Oh, we don't really have that either. And I'm like, we talk that through a little bit more. And I'm like, okay, seriously, I'm going to remind you of that opening conversation that we had about you're a whirling dervish on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And I said, I think part of that problem and one of the solutions is for y'all to get clear on your vision, mm-hmm. and then your big goal, your mission, and then let's lay out a plan, because it's now going to give you permission to say no to stuff or not right now. Right? In this workshop, those are exactly the pieces that are in it. You spend some time with each individual team member. They fill out a little bit of a portrait, and it's super fun. It's all interactive. We use Miro, an online whiteboard. You can do it virtually. Then we actually go through some exercises for the organization, team, whatever. Okay, well, let's make sure you're aligned on values. You understand your organization's purpose. Okay, what's your big goal? What do you want to achieve? And then we'll go into laying out your hardcore strategy. But before you can even do that, you got to sit down and take a look at, well, what do you got? What resources are you sitting on? Your people are one of the big resources. We're going to talk about, well, who's good at what? Who's kind of shitty at stuff? How do you want to talk to each other? Right? Everybody has different needs when it comes to communication. Let's try to at least get a taste and appreciation for that. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk a little bit too around what external factors could have a play on what you're trying to achieve. You come up with, at the end, you got your strategic priorities. The thing I'm most excited about is a team alignment exercise where you get very tactical really quickly. And so quick aside, I come from a rural background. So I love the view from a 10,000 foot, but then I get real practical real quick. Like if you can't take this and use it, let's not waste our time. There's a team alignment map that you get to take with you as an exercise, but you can keep it updated. And then I even pulled in a Kanban tool, a simple tool that you can use on your regular team meetings and stay up to date and stay on track.
These are simple tools that you're offering, but they're so essential. And when you said the company is 3 years old, they need the help now. Actually, they should have done it 2 years ago. I think they can be very lucky and happy to have found you and that you can help them now. It's just a little tweak, right? They have the employees. I'm sure they have a vision and a mission, but they just never wrote it down.
Yeah, well, here's a cute story. I was having a call with a startup. It's a tech startup. And same thing. The other thing that I can facilitate is a design sprint. If you're familiar with Jake Knapp and design sprints, I can do that. They contacted me about a design sprint, and they're in a tech startup world. They're super early, like really early in their process. And in chatting with them, I said, just keep talking. Tell me where you're at. Tell me what do you see for you guys? What are your hopes in the next few months? Like, what are your timelines? What are you thinking? And as they're talking, and I'm like, oh, you're not ready for a design sprint at all. Like, call me in a few months. We'll do a sprint. No problem. And I'm like, back up a step. And what's your strategy? I don't care if it's even just 6 months. I don't care what the timeline is, but what's your plan? Like, what do you got? And they're like, well, we're all over the place. Ooh, okay. Ooh. And then it's like, well, what's your purpose? What's your vision? And one of the founders, well, our vision is this. And the partner was like, oh, is that what it is? And I'm like, okay, guys, let me do this one. Let's do this part first, right? Because especially since you're starting to engage with external contractors and consultants, let's make sure you and your team are crystal clear on who you are and what you're all about and what you're trying to achieve, so that when you engage with these externals, you're all there with the same message. Because otherwise those guys are going to give you, the consultants, what they think you need or want.
And it also is amazing to see that two people are in the room with you, and one thinks this and the other one thinks like, so one is thinking left and the other one is thinking right.
And they're partners.
Yeah, that's the funny part, right? So Tara has to come in and say, hey guys, what do you want? How can we meet in the middle?
Yeah, let's make a plan. Make a plan, right? And what I love about running workshops, I love being in front of people. That was part of my journey. When you think back, okay, well, what do I want to do next? And you kind of go, okay, well, what have I enjoyed and what have I been good at? And I've always enjoyed facilitation and running workshops. No matter where I've worked, no matter what my job title, I inevitably did that. And it was one of those things I've always found easy. That's a sign, right? If you get this glorious feedback, that was amazing. I can't believe you did that. That was so powerful. That was so meaningful, or that was incredible. Whether you're working on a spreadsheet or you're standing on a stage, it doesn't matter. But if you get that feedback, that's a sign.
Glad we met, and we want to see more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How cool was that to talk to Tara, my fellow alt MBA? It was a cool team. We learned a lot. It's about support. It's about reflection. But it's also about providing feedback. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. Don't miss out. Follow our podcast on your preferred podcast platform. And Take It from the Ironwoman actually started out as a book where you can find my experience from Switzerland to New York to traveling around the world.